You are listening to the Secret Teachings Radio. I'm your host, Ryan Gable. TSTradio.info is the website. rdgable@yahoo.com is the email. Thank you so much for tuning in this Friday, December 26th, 2025, the end of the year 2025, going into 2026. We are also tonight live on various social media platforms. And yes, there was a hot mic, not so much hot, just it was switching over from the keyboard on my computer to the mixing board. That's why you might have heard typing and a clearing of the throat before the show started. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Everybody in the chat, Boomer Sooner, Joe Ryder, Noka, Flux, Deb, and if I go back to the beginning of the chat, Diane Perry was here first. HP, who's putting together some Christmas gifts. I assume they're Christmas gifts. Evan Kelly, Clay Davis, Tim Curley, and now there are more people coming in now. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. Mistos Dokos is here. Samantha is also here. tstradio.info, rdgable@yahoo.com. I see Rita. I see Reno Mac. You never know who's going to show up, especially around the Holly Holy Days. There's Scott, and I actually debated on even doing a live show tonight. On Thursday, we didn't have a brand new episode of The Secret Teachings, although we did have a special conversation on another show. I was on the Chris Michaels show, so we were on Chris Michaels' show, and I put that up into the archive. It's been such a weird week, in fact, a weird couple of weeks because of Ground Zero and because of hosting that and having to do extra work with my book editing, which it's pretty much all done with the exception of some red text that needed to be smoothed over. So I've had that going on. It's been very strange. I'm kind of taking the last week here of the year to reset everything. I might go in and pull some new bumper music and kind of maybe change, if nothing big, but change a few things around with the show production on my end to make it even more streamlined than it is. I might get some new music. I'm not really sure, but I'm going to try to change things up, give it a fresh 2026 sound and look and feel. And that's my goal for the new year. Until then, we have the rest of this year, and we have a number of shows planned for next week. Well, next week starts the new year, but I've got a fun show planned on mechanical robotic dolls in relation to the holidays. That should be a fun show. And I have another show, a controversial show planned. I think I might hold off to the new year, although I guess every show is or has become controversial here on The Secret Teachings. I've got to be honest with you. If you look at tonight's show name, Holiday Whoobie Whaty, first of all, if you don't know what that is, that's a reference to The Grinch with Jim Carrey, the Hoobilation, when little Cindy invites the Grinch to the Hoobilation. He's like, Holiday Whoobie Whaty? So I like wordplay. I like references to things. That's why I named the show random things. That they seem random, but they relate in some way to the show. Holiday Whoobie Whaty, like, I'm not really sure what this is. That's kind of the idea. What did you say? I'm not really sure what you said. It's just it's a joke from the Grinch. It's a reference to the Grinch. It shouldn't be that complicated. But sometimes show names are really complicated, like Jesus is the reason for the treason. I can't tell you how many people have emailed me and said, look, I enjoyed that show. The problem is you should not have named the episode of Ground Zero you did that, because that really turned people off. And see, this is what I'm actually struggling with this right now. Not in a way that it's inhibiting my daily life, but I'm struggling with it mentally in regard to the show, because I've done this for so long, and most of you know who use any form of social media, what is popular on social media. It's just trash, just garbage, and slop. I don't like that word, but that is the 2025 Merriam-Webster word of the year, slop. That's what it is. It's slop, a lot of slop. And so I like to do things differently. I like to do things creatively. And in the process of doing things creatively and doing things uniquely, I learned this a long time ago. You find that there are very few, I think they're in the chat room right now. There are very few people who understand, who get the idea of truly being, or at least trying to be objective about things. And when you're trying to be objective, meaning you're trying to remove emotion from something, when you're trying to be objective about something, no matter what you say, and this is also just in general in life, no matter what you say, someone's always going to be offended. Someone's always going to be in agreement. Someone's always going to also not care. That's just in life. But certain topics, there's a built in audience for them, right? If you were to, well, if I were to just say, oh, you know what? I see the light and I'm going to accept Jesus Christ into my heart, people would be like, see, I knew he was a Satanist, but he found Jesus and I'm going to support him. Now, I bet you I could make so much money if I just said that. If I just said, I found Jesus Christ, doesn't have to mean anything. But if I just said, I found Jesus Christ, oh, I could make so much money. Now that I found Jesus, I want to incorporate him into my life. And I really want, we need money. Please support us for Jesus. People would throw money at me, but I'm not going to do that. I can't do that. Also, it goes the other way too, because I'm not, if I were to, I'm not that kind of person, but if I was that kind of person, I could also say something to the opposite equivalent and say, well, I really hate Christianity. Just this religious stuff is so bad. I hate religion. If I did that, people would support us. Help us fight back against these religious Christo fascists, and people would donate to that because there's a built-in audience with these movements. And in hosting Ground Zero, I know now more than ever what Clyde and I have discussed in the past, and that is you could read a verse from the Bible. In fact, I did on Ground Zero, one of the 6 shows I've hosted this month. You read a verse from the Bible, and automatically 50% of people think, oh, you're a good Christian. He's quoting the Bible. This is fantastic. This is good stuff. And then you get another half of the audience that hears it differently and thinks, oh, he's making fun of the Bible. And you can never win. But there's those built-in audiences that are there you could tap into them, which is what I think the Russell Brands and the Justin Biebers and I think Nicki Minaj now, I think that's what they're doing. I mean, if they're Christian, great, whatever, but I don't think that they're really Christians. I think that they're tapping into an audience because there's a lot of money in that audience. That's what I think. And I think that this is pretty much what you find in any field, in any area of investigation or research or whatever it might be. So, Tim in the chat says something that I you can see it on the screen. If you can't see it on the screen because you're listening in audio only, I'll read you what it says. I think Tim Curley he understands what I'm getting at here. He says the show titles weed out those whose first reaction to everything is an emotional one. Yeah, that's kind of the point. Well, the point is to have something kind of fun and comical, like Holiday Whoobie Whaty. It's a Grinch reference. But the other part of it is, yes, to kind of weed out people that are really emotional. So it's not even an intentional thing. I just do it because it's kind of fun to come up with different show titles. But I must say this. I must say that what's been disheartening outside of those built-in audiences and not really fitting into any of them, what's been disheartening is to watch. And I don't know about the algorithms in the United States, but interacting with people in the United States and then other parts of the world just on X, my social media feed was filled with 2 things on what would have been US Christmas Day, which would have been the day after Christmas here in Japan. And the 2 things that my social media feed was filled with involved people climbing a Christmas tree and removing things from it or throwing them off the tree. No context provided for it, of course, just people climbing a tree. And that was presented as Muslims climbing a tree and desecrating this Christian symbol, which I thought that Christians didn't like the tree because it's a pagan symbol, even though that doesn't make any sense either. And then you find out that that image has actually been used many Christmases, and it's from 2016 in Cairo, Egypt, and I believe it was a mall event. The mall had this event, and the tree was reinforced, and they had people climb and take gifts out of it. It was like a special event. There's no tradition anywhere in the world I'm aware of where people climb trees and get gifts out of them. You know, you put gifts in the tree, but you don't climb them. So, I was confused by that because the some of the people that were posting that were like Infowars posted that, and I thought, uh, Infowars is now an utter joke. I think the last bit of sense at Infowars was Owen Schroyer before he left. I do like Harrison Smith, but I think he has to walk a tightrope. But they posted that, and I'm thinking that's really like obviously not from 2025, and that those are obviously not Muslims attacking a Christian Christmas tree. That doesn't even make any sense. And then the other thing that I saw, it was all over my feed. People were celebrating. These are people I know, people that are like I'm friendly with, like I've talked to off air many times. Were celebrating the bombing of Nigeria. Did you hear about that? Did you see that? The bombing of Nigeria. And people were celebrating that. Why would we bomb Nigeria? You might be asking if you weren't aware of this. Well, there's Christians that have been killed in Nigeria. Like, I'm pretty sure there's been Christians persecuted in China too. We didn't bomb China. I'm pretty sure that Christians have been persecuted in a lot of places. We didn't bomb all those places. This just doesn't make any sense. And if you try to figure out, like, why is that something to celebrate? There's those built-in groups again that just, "Oh, because we gotta defend our Christian brothers and sisters." Well, I can respect that, but I'm confused why you would bomb Nigeria over something that's been going on for, like, 75 years. And I'm also confused why you would do it on Christmas Eve, Christmas. I'm not sure of the time difference, but Politico and some other, uh, news sites reported that this was like a Christmas bombing. Here, I'll show it to you on the screen so you can see what I'm talking about. They reported this as a Christmas bombing. US forces launch Christmas strike on ISIS in Nigeria. President said, "May God bless our military and Merry Christmas to all, including the dead terrorists." And if you try to express how this doesn't make any sense at all, and it's weird to have this kind of like military celebration on Christmas. It's just weird. Like this obsession with death and murder and bombs. And I had a friend of mine who sent me a message that said he felt similarly because another friend of his had sent him a message with like a Bomb Iran song with a B 2 bomber. It was like, "Isn't that so cool?" My friend's like, "No, it's not cool. Killing people is not cool. There's a time and place for this kind of thing, but as a culture, it's like we celebrate this for Christmas, a Christmas bombing. It's just like really evil. It's really sick. And if you just objectively say, this is kind of sick, why are you even doing this? You get two responses. We got to protect the Christians, although you haven't been concerned about protecting them for 75 years in Nigeria. and you're just a terrorist sympathizer. I mean, if I had a dollar for every time someone's called me a terrorist sympathizer just this month alone, I would retire. I've been called a terrorist sympathizer. I don't even know what that means because terrorism is using force to compel people to comply with your political aspirations, motivations, agenda. Like using force to bomb another country into compliance is the definition of terrorism, even if you're bombing other, quote, terrorists. So it's terrorism both ways. I'm just confused by the whole thing, why this is like a Christmas thing. It's a Christmas celebration. It's like the John McCain Bomb Iran song. Bomb Iran, gonna bomb Iran. Like, that is disgusting. That is like really, really sick. And then there's that built-in audience. You say anything about John McCain, is like if you're running for office, especially, you know his family's still alive, right? You know that people can hear you, right? Yeah, I know that he was a sick mother effer. He was a gross human being. He was a disgusting, repulsive thing. I don't even think he was human. He was gross. He was disgusting. And so is anybody who celebrates this. I look through like Fox News. There was an ABC story about this. All on my social media, like on Facebook and other like X, and it was showing all the comments were like, Merry Christmas from. I don't know if they used Tomahawk missiles. It was like Merry Christmas from Tomahawk missiles. It was, Merry Christmas from the U.S. military. Salute the flag, bomb those terrorists. I said this back in, what was it, February of this year after the inauguration. I said, you know what this is? This is the George Bush years. And so I was actually sitting there, and you're right, Chris, in the chat. Chris says the words Christmas and bombing should ever be used in the same sentence. Well, welcome to 2025. If we're bombing Muslims to start a holy war, that's okay, though, because that's what we want for Christmas. We want a crusade. And in fact, speaking of a crusade, I believe it was Alex Jones who even said that. Haven't I been saying that? Alex Jones said that, and he was promoting it. He was happy about it. Here's the post on X where he puts up the Donald Trump Truth Social post about bombing ISIS scum and says, is this the beginning of the second Great Crusade? See, when I said that, people said I was crazy. When I said that, people said, you got no proof or evidence of that. When I said that last year, actually like 14 months ago, they're going to try to launch a new crusade, or at least that's what they're going to term it. I was crazy, wasn't I? Well, most of you in the chat didn't think I was crazy. A lot of you thought the same thing. A lot of you listening in the audio only portion of the show, you obviously understood what I was saying because I presented all the evidence to you and where the direction of the country was going. But now people that are supposed to be the independent free press, it's the second Great Crusade. In fact, InfoWars was even selling Holy War t-shirts a few months ago. They still might be selling them now. Holy War. You can get a Holy War t-shirt. Let's start the Holy War. That's what the bombing of Nigeria was all about. And if you try to explain that to people, what's the reaction? You're a terrorist sympathizer. I mean, maybe I'm missing the point. Maybe I'm confused because I'm stupid or something. I just feel that if you objectively say, yeah, Christians are being killed in Nigeria, but even if you want to do something about that, okay, you want to do something about it, fine. Why now? Why now? It's like if someone's, very unhealthy and overweight and they've spent their entire lives like that and they've never changed. And then one day they're just like, you know what? I'm going to eat better and exercise, and they actually start doing it. That's great. But I'm curious what changed after 47 years of living like that. I mean, because that whatever encouraged you to change, I mean, that might, you could bottle it up and package that and help other people with it. Like, what encouraged you to change the way that you are? That's what I want to know. I want to know, what encouraged Christians suddenly after, my God, this is like 1940, was it 1948, 7, something like it's like in the mid 1940s. This kind of it probably before that. I think the official number was like in the 40s when this stuff really started. Definitely once you got into the 60s and 70s. It's been going on for more than half a century. If you want to do something about it, okay, but like what changed and why suddenly on Christmas we're going to bomb terrorists in Nigeria? I'm just confused by the whole thing. Yes, Joe Ryder, because they're brainwashed. I know that everybody in the chat gets it. I get it too, but I have to say it out loud or I'm going to explode. I'm going to like blow up. My head's going to just erupt like the new Fallout show. They put the microchips in the back of the neck. That is what it is. It is brainwashing. And I mean, I'm having conversations with people I know personally and trying to trying to understand what they're saying. We've got to protect these Christians. Okay, why did you just start caring about that? Okay, there's an argument to be made. I didn't know about it. Now I know about it. Let's do something about it. Okay, that's the answer. That's fine. I don't. All right, let's do something about it. But I just needed to know like why suddenly this was it because I've known about it. You didn't know about it. That's okay. I had to learn about it too. But like why suddenly? Oh, it's because you just learned. Okay, why did you learn? And that's where we get into the my issue, the issue I have. Well, because the president told us. Oh, okay. And Christmas bombings I mean, like what couldn't this hold off until after Christmas? Considering that it's been going on for like 75 years, couldn't it hold off? Couldn't you just hold off a week or something? Or maybe the purpose is to give the country a rallying cry, to give them something to get behind, that kind of a thing. Maybe to take people's focus off of Epstein file every time. Bill Burr said that about when the government messes up, there's always a new McDonald's sandwich, right? There's always a new McDonald's sandwich. Some scandal, somebody gets caught with their pants down. Suddenly, McDonald's has the new McRib. That's basically what this is. I swear to God, every single time there's been an Epstein file release or unveiling, every time somebody has been bombed. And it's not that there isn't bombings happening all the time. There aren't bombings happening. There are everywhere, all over the world, all the time. It's that every time somebody gets caught with the pants down, there's a publicizing of the bombing. And that, I think, is kind of what's happening here, especially because some people online figured out, wait a minute, they didn't redact these files very well. You can copy and paste the black text, put it into another Word file, and it takes the black text or not the black text, I should say, the redaction. It removes the redaction and you can actually read the text. As soon as someone figured that out, they sent the B-2 bombers in. That's how it works. And then I was curious, like, are these even Christian, like American citizens? Or are these just random? How do you know they're Christians that have been killed? Did you ask them? None of this makes any sense. I want to show you something I think was really funny, and then I'm going to go back to the beginning and go through this whole thing tonight on the show. But you gotta look at this. This is one of the funniest things that I've seen for a long time. So there was let's see where, it's the same post from Alex Jones about the crusade. And I commented and I said, it's very well documented that the murder of Christians is not religiously motivated. Muslims are also being killed at a rate up to and equal to Christians. People that practice traditional folk religions in Africa are being slaughtered, etc. Can't believe Alex Jones actually liked that post. I'm sure whatever moron he has running his account just clicked on all of it, everybody's thing, make it look like they're interacting. But this was my favorite part. Look at the response I got to this. I got this response from somebody who, this is their account on social media, SatGod. I don't know who they are, but they responded like a normal moron on the internet. And they asked, this is so funny. They said, hey, Grok, can you educate this liar? By liar, they meant me saying that Muslims are also being killed. This is so funny. Look at this. Grok, can you educate this liar? Christians, who make up about 50% of Nigeria's population, account for up to 80% of the victims of religiously motivated killings by jihadist groups like Boko Haram and the Islamic State West Africa province. And Grok, who I'm not a big fan of Grok, but Grok responded to this utter idiot and said, data from sources like ACLED shows that while Christians, about 50% of Nigeria's population, they got that right at least, are targeted by groups like Boko Haram and ISWAP, the majority of victims since 2009 have been Muslims. I didn't even know that. From the numbers I saw, it was equal, or there was a slight number of Christians. I think it was like a few hundred more than Muslims. According to Grok's information, it's actually more Muslims that have been killed. 5%, or is that less than 5% of civilian attacks explicitly target Christians for religious reasons. Claims of 80% Christian victims aren't supported by reviewed reports, though persecution is documented. Of course it is. Of course it's documented. I didn't say it wasn't. Of course it is. So this is the state of affairs. This is what we find ourselves in 2025, and it gets worse every year. This is how we find ourselves dealing with the holidays, a holiday bombing. And the people that support it are people like this who are like, gotta protect those Christians. And you're like, well, actually, there's Muslims being killed too, and like people that practice African folk traditions being killed too. It's not religiously motivated. How do you know that, liar? Because I read the State Department report and like 5 other international reports from other countries and NGOs and like they're all in agreement no matter what their political affiliation is. But I could have just asked Grok. And this idiot asks Grok, and Grok says, actually, it's worse than what he said. It's actually more Muslims being killed than Christians. And when you learn that, which I didn't know that, I had to verify that independently of what Grok said. If that's the case, then why are we bombing Nigeria? Other than the fact that there needs to be a distraction from being able to unredact the Epstein files. And of course, as wise people have said, there always must be a sacrifice on Christmas for a particular religious motivation. 100 years ago, the sacrifice was U.S. currency. We got the Federal Reserve Act. This year, we got bombings of Nigeria because we got to save the Christians. But it's not really about saving Christians, is it? You go back and look at what Trump said. At my direction as Commander-in-Chief, the United States launched a powerful and deadly strike against ISIS terrorist scum in northwest Nigeria, who have been targeting and viciously killing primarily innocent Christians at levels not seen for many years and even centuries. Totally false. Absolutely, utterly false. Like unbelievably false. Like the kind of falsity that the Democrats used to accuse Trump of. That's how false it is. I don't think he even wrote that. I think he's been given a script, and the script is Islam is bad, Muslims are bad. We all know why that is, because that's the Israeli script. And let's start a holy war with Islam. 2 billion Muslims. Which is why, independently of me, a friend of mine said that a friend of his sent him a video. A very good friend of mine said friend of him sent him a video celebrating the hopeful bombing of Iran coming up soon. It's bombing Iran, bombing Iran, bombing Iran. And then I saw all over the news, U.S. launching Christmas strike on ISIS. Which is also funny because if you go to the internet and type in, you should be able to go to Israeli Secret Intelligence Service, go to their website. Can't imagine what kind of spyware that's puts on my computer. This is worse than going to some movie website where you download movies illegally or something. But you go to their website, and here's the Mossad's website officially. And you go to the top left corner there, and you can see what the abbreviation is for the Mossad. Can you see that? Can you read that? The abbreviation for the Mossad is Israeli, that's an I, secret, that's an S, intelligence, that's an I, service, that's an S. ISIS is quite literally the Mossad. Not to mention that al-Baghdadi and some of these other so-called ISIS leaders barely even spoke Arabic, and have met with U.S. officials, and many of them have even been to the White House. It's all, for the most part, I think most of it's fake. It's a script, it's a stage, it's a production, it's not real. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part is that people celebrate it. Yeah, it's great. Christmas bombings. Woohoo. And these are supposed to be the people that are celebrating the birth of Jesus, which just, it's amazing that you can get up with your family on Christmas and do presents and all that. And maybe you go to church and we love Jesus, and whatever you do on Christmas, I don't know. Make some Jesus manger, cookie set, go to church, pray to God, praise God, Jesus, he's born, whatever. And then on the way to church, on the way home from church, or maybe, go to the bathroom in the middle of church and you get on your phone and you're like typing a message on social media about how great it is that we just bombed ISIS in Nigeria without any context for it. You don't know who was bombed. You don't know why they were people. They might have just dropped random bombs in the desert somewhere and said, "Yeah, oh yeah, that's maybe bombed ISIS." It's just a theatrical production. That's what it is. It's a theatrical production. So is this. Let's go back to this. This is the Haaretz, Israeli newspaper, and it says that Israel police arrest man dressed as Santa Claus at Haifa Christmas festival. I was surprised they even had a Christmas festival, but there was a Christmas festival, and Israeli police arrested Santa Claus. Which it's not some. The thing is, if you wanted to keep this out of the news, you would just keep it out of the news. You wouldn't publish the newspaper in English so people that speak English could read it. Like when Netanyahu gives a speech in English, it's not for Israelis, it's for Americans. So if they wanted to prevent this optic from getting out, they would just not publish it. The optic here is Israel arrests Santa Claus. Israeli police on X denied that they did this, despite there being a video of it. Other Israeli accounts said it happened, but it was only because there was a disturbance of the peace. What's the definition of that? Well, Christians are a disturbance of the peace. That would be one definition. But that's not the point. The point is the optics are what matter. The optics are, well, Netanyahu is giving a speech about Merry Christmas, we love Christians. The police in Israel are arresting Christians and Santa Claus. Meanwhile, my feed was filled with just a bunch of propaganda videos about how Israel loves Christmas, and it's just like, I think the lady doth protesteth too much. There's Christmas trees in Iran too, but oh, you're a terrorist sympathizer. It's very, very weird. It's very confusing, as is all of these stories. A friend of mine sent this to me. It said, "Could Mary and Joseph travel from Nazareth to Bethlehem today?" And it says it would be a different journey historically. And I read this and I just thought, it's definitely because I'm not Christian that I'm confused by all of this. Very, very confused by all of this. On my feed on social media, which just gives me an idea of what is being said in the world. It doesn't mean that it's legitimate or real or any of that, but just on my social media feed, it was just nonstop stuff about Jesus. Is he a Palestinian? Isn't he an Israeli? And I'm just like, I don't think it really matters. I don't think it really matters which one Jesus was. I mean, if you're a Christian, can you elaborate on that? I don't think it matters. I think I thought the whole point was what Jesus taught. I didn't think it mattered if he was a Palestinian or if he was an Israeli. There's just like hundreds of videos and posts about Jesus is Israeli. He's a Jew. Jesus is Israeli. Why does that matter? Obviously, it's very simple why it matters. I know why it matters because you want to get Christians. They're like, oh, Jesus was an Israeli. Oh, he was Jewish. So I'll support whatever Israel does. Christmas bombings? Well, Jesus was an Israeli. So sure. That's what it's supposed to do. To me, I'm just like, what? I don't understand what this is. What does it matter if Jesus was a Palestinian, if he was a Israeli, if he was Arab, if he was Asian, it reminds me of Family Guy. Santa Claus isn't Asian. How do you know he's not Asian? Because Santa doesn't drive his sleigh 20 miles under the speed limit with his left turn blinker on. It doesn't really matter what Jesus is, right? Wouldn't it just like Flux says in the chat here? Wouldn't this be the purpose that just teaching people to be nice and love your neighbor? Isn't that the purpose? Not bombing your neighbor on Christmas, you psychopaths? Isn't that the purpose? I got into that argument with someone that I not an argument, but like a discussion with someone I knew about that. I said, like, isn't what you're arguing about Nigeria kind of the opposite of what Jesus taught? Isn't it kind of the opposite? Oh, but the Muslims are killing they're also killing other Muslims. There's different sects of Islam. And Muslims are not the only ones doing the killings. And how do you know they're Muslims? How do you know they're Christians? How do you know they're anything? The official government reports from Nigeria, they can't even classify and identify who's who. We think a few hundred people who practice old African folk religions have been killed. We're not really sure. Did you go ask you pick up the bodies, you look at the bodies. All right, that's a Christian. Put that one down. That guy seems to have a beard. I think he's a Muslim. Write that one down. That person's holding some sticks. Now, that could be for a fire, or they could be making some kind of idol out of the sticks. Put that one down as folk religion. You have no idea. No idea. And then you drop bombs. And people are supposed to be like, yeah, bombs on Christmas. And then you ask them, do you know who ISIS is? Do you know who you bombed? Are you sure that Christians were being killed for being Christian? How do you know that? They're just taking resources and land. It's like a civil war in Nigeria. It's like a failed state almost in Nigeria. What are you talking about? And they tell you, oh, you're a terrorist sympathizer. It makes you want to. I'm glad we have an interactive chat tonight because it's very depressing. And I'm glad that all of you in the chat, and I assume most of you listening in audio form only, I assume most of you understand my sentiment. You understand what I'm getting at here. But I'm pretty sure that like the core element of Jesus's teachings were that you do not need religious authorities to obtain salvation. That was a big one. That's the reason that the Pharisees conspired to kill Jesus and why the Romans said, we have no beef with him. He didn't break any of our laws, which is kind of contrary to the image that's been pumped up by the historians who say, oh, the Romans just any religious issue and they just crucify, which is not true. They didn't just crucify. They didn't crucify anybody for religious offenses. The Romans had no issue with Jesus. Pilate had no issue with Jesus. I saw that all of my feed for Christmas, reminding people Jesus was Palestinian. He was Palestinian. He was this. He was Israeli. He was Israeli. Yeah, he was Jewish. Like, I don't think that matters. And then you get the other stuff. You get stuff about how we got to protect those Christians in Nigeria. That justifies the bombing. It's all like a sick, twisted game. And it's disheartening to watch like an entire society and culture be subdued by this vile propaganda, by this very complex, well, actually, it's very simple, but for people that don't think about it, it's very complex, very, very tricky mis and disinformation. Very, very tricky. I mean, tricky in the sense that, like, for most people, they're like, "Oh, well, it's Jesus, so I love Jesus." If Jesus would have bombed the Nigerians, then I'm all for it. And then you try to explain to people, but Jesus didn't believe. He taught that you don't need to have religious authority to be saved. He also taught that you should love one another. I mean, there are consequences for your actions, but you should love one another, everybody. And this is why I'm not like depressed, but it's depressing to watch this and to watch people that, my God, just a few months ago, really, in the grand scheme of things, a few years ago, were talking about how it's awful that Democrats make everything about race, and conservative people and Christians were like, my black brothers and sisters, we don't hate you because you're black. We want to build families and communities and all of that. And it's like, yeah, I agree with that. And then Christian conservative people get power, and then they're like, all right, all righty, bombs away. Let's kill all those Arabs. And you're just like, isn't that exactly what the Democrats accuse you of like hating brown people? And now you're just going to go do it because you've got power now. Oh, we had to stop them from killing the Christians. I don't know if you've looked around the world, but everybody is persecuted everywhere you go in the world, any time of the day or year. There's someone being persecuted. You're not going to stop that. You're never going to stop that. But you can make it worse. You can make it worse by advocating for these things. Can't stop it, but you can make it worse. I mean, over time, if you don't make it worse, it might get better. But if you participate in it, you will make it worse. I want to pause for a moment and let you know that you're listening to the Secret Teachings Radio. For those of you on YouTube, X, Facebook, etc., wherever the show might be seen, this live video broadcast, December 26th, 2025. I want to thank you for tuning in, but also remind you that this is not the main Monday through Friday show on, say, video per se. This is a specialty Friday broadcast that I do because we have the ability to do it. People support the show and subscribe to the show, so I can do this on Fridays on video, totally free, no advertisements. If it wouldn't be for people that support the show, I wouldn't be able to do this. So thank you for supporting Secret Teachings. If you haven't done that yet, consider doing so. There's links below. However you're listening, audio, video, there's links below. There's the Buy Me a Coffee. There's the subscription archive. Very reasonable subscriptions, $50 for the whole year. It's, I think, a pretty good deal, $50 for the whole year, every episode, all year. You also get access for yearly subscribers to my books. You can get a copy of one of my books if you want to support the show, like Occult Arcana, Liberty Shrugged, etc. at tstradio.info. That's tstradio.info. One more time for people that missed it, tstradio.info. For those of you who are in the audio portion of the show, an extra special thanks for listening there and then going and finding the video show. Even though you know there's a video show, you still listen in the audio archive first. That is very, very helpful. I really appreciate that. Thank you. So tonight's show, Holiday Whoobie Whaty, it's a reference to the Grinch. Reference to the Grinch. Holiday Whoobie Whaty, holiday jubilation. And that's how I feel about all of this. It's like holiday Whoobie, like, what? You love Jesus, but you're gonna bomb random people or something? You ha you love everybody because 'cause you're a Christian, but you hate Arabs and Muslims for some reason that you can't really explain, except they're jihadists, but you don't know what that word means, and I'm just confused by all of it. It's actually really depressing, and it's, very tribal. Let me put this back up on the screen. Let me show you this video. Alex Jones posted this. Who knew that the Grinch that stole Christmas was real? Muslims gather together in the town square to tear down a large Christmas tree meant for families to enjoy. No reference to where it is, no indication of what the context is. Very short length of the video. And then you maybe have a spark of memory and you're like, I've seen that before. Yeah, I have too. And other people have as well. That's why they put a reader context statement below it that this was actually a 2016 Christmas festival in Cairo, Egypt, at the Mall of Arabia, where people climb the tree to retrieve gifts, hidden ornaments, etc. And there's also a story about this event where people got a little bit rowdy, but that's, it's not like that's look at American malls. People got a little bit rowdy. So that's what it actually was. But you look at what InfoWars is now. InfoWars is just like a Laura Loomer account. I think it's clear that Alex Jones was compromised by the lawsuits over Sandy Hook, and I think it's further clear that that's what this is. This video is, this post is. But I think it's been clear that he's become compromised completely, if he wasn't already completely compromised before, but completely compromised by the Trump cult, because the Trump cult won't let you be objective about anything. Now, there are some Trump people that, yeah, but I'm talking about the cult, the movement. You're not allowed to say, well, Arabs are actually human beings too. You know that Muslims are actually human beings too. You know that there's hundreds of years of the Islamic golden age. You know that there's context missing from all these stories you tell about Muslims, and it just doesn't matter. You're just a hateful, spiteful person who loves terrorists. So where are you going to get your information from? Where are you going to get your information from? It's a serious question. I don't know where I'm getting my information from. I see things and I'm trying to provide some kind of objective commentary. I agree with you, Jackie. Alex has been compromised for a very long time. But it is beyond evident now. It's beyond question how compromised he is. Look at this, promoting holy war. Going to get a second crusade. Yeah, look, the Muslims stole Christmas. Muslims who are in Iran, even though I don't think it's not primarily Muslim. There's a bunch of religions in Iran. They have Christmas celebrations there, and nobody tears down the trees. Why would Muslims tear down the tree anyway? It doesn't make any sense. It's not a Christian symbol. Haven't we been told that for years? Like when I was a kid, it was a big deal. Yeah, we'll have a Christmas tree, but this isn't what Christmas is all about. It's not about Jesus. It's about Jesus. It's not about the tree. And now we're being told, oh, the tree's a symbol of Christianity. No, it's not. It's an old Germanic vegetation symbol. It's not just Germanic, but the traditions largely come out of Germanic origins. It's not Christian. It's an old Germanic vegetation symbol. I call it vegetation veneration. Yes, Joe, you're right in the chat. A Christmas tree isn't part of the original Christmas tradition. What are these people talking about? Look at the way the goalposts are moved like this. All the Muslims are attacking a Christian Christmas tree. It's not a Christian symbol. That doesn't make any sense. And furthermore, What makes it all the more confusing is that the video, quite literally, it's like on the border of not even being from this decade. It's like 10 years old. And furthermore, Muslims don't tear down Christmas trees. They respect Christianity, although Christmas trees are not Christian. I mean, you have to think that this is what thinking for yourself means. Thinking for yourself doesn't mean you believe every time there's fog, it's a government conspiracy. Thinking for yourself means asking questions like this. Like that Jake Lang kid waving around bacon and pig heads with Qurans. And I'm just in the back of the class with my hand raised. Okay. Jews also don't eat pork. So I don't, what's that supposed to mean? Jews also don't eat pork. I don't understand what waving a pig head around is supposed to mean. Jews also don't eat pork. There's a lot of people that don't eat pork, not just Muslims and Jews. So I don't because it's theater. That's all that it is. It's theatrical. It's a production. A Christmas tree is not a symbol of Christianity. So even if this was a group of Muslims attacking it, they wouldn't be attacking a Christian symbol. You know what they'd be attacking? A pagan symbol, right? And if they were attacking a pagan symbol, once again, you'd have another thing as a Christian in common with these evil brown people that do admittedly use way too much cologne and perfume, but these evil brown people that put scarves on their head to protect themselves from the sun when they live in the desert. As if that's a uniquely Muslim thing. Like you will see in the summertime, especially in more rural parts of Japan, you will see older Japanese women who quite literally cover themselves in what appears to be a burqa. It's a slightly tighter fitting burqa, but they wear that. You know why? It's not because they're Muslim. It's because they're protecting themselves from the UV. I've seen that. Like literally, I saw this woman she had all black, hands, arms, whole body. She had a black mask thing on and then like a visor that looked like something from Spaceballs. I've seen that more than once, actually. People wear those things to protect themselves from the sun. But you can't explain that to this movement, whatever this is, this hateful, spiteful, evil, anti-American, anti-human movement, whatever this garbage is that has taken over American politics. Well, not taken over. It's just reared its ugly head again. So a Christmas tree is not a symbol of Christianity. And if it was Muslims attacking it, they'd be attacking a pagan symbol, wouldn't they? Wouldn't they? And it's an old video. And it's also a Christmas tradition, reportedly, in some parts of Egypt. Reportedly, I don't know for sure, but if it is a Christmas tradition, then that's literally no different than what you do with your traditions. So, well, not you, because most of you understand what I'm saying, but people that are coming in and out that might disagree. Wouldn't it be the same thing? So it just doesn't make any sense. Now, on the other hand, if Israel wants to break up a Christian party or arrest Santa Claus, that's okay. Alex Jones has nothing to say about that. That's okay. Double standards, hypocrisy, etc. And these silly arguments over where's Jesus from? What was he? And, I'm just honestly, the thing that has astounded me the most in 2020, if I could explain what 2025 is to me, it would be how I found myself, who is not a Christian, defending Christianity so much and yet being accused of being an antichrist or being pro-terrorist. I support Christianity. I have a Bible right here in my studio. And what I'm wondering, what I'm curious about, what I don't understand is, as a Christian, someone who is a Christian, wouldn't someone who's a Christian also know what I'm about to say? And what I'm about to say is this: it doesn't really matter Jesus is Palestinian or Israeli. It should matter what he taught. And furthermore, if that is the argument, wouldn't that be like the first part of the story? Didn't other stuff happen after that fact? Didn't stuff happen later? Didn't Jesus go after the Pharisees? Didn't he tip over the tables in the temple that were being used to exchange money? That happened after the fact. So I don't care if he's Palestinian, Israeli. I don't care what he is. I don't care if he's a Rastafarian. I don't care what Jesus is. What matters is what he taught. And furthermore, if that's the argument, didn't a bunch of stuff happen after that? Like, I get that. Why do Christians not understand that? Like, I support you. I believe in the First Amendment, but people have redefined the First Amendment. Now the First Amendment is nobody has a religious right except us. It's not really redefining. A lot of people think that. I agree with you. The village is that the village shaman. I think all religions are valuable and should be respected. Final answer. I agree, but you can't explain that to people today. You either have hardcore atheist people who are running the country, or you have hardcore Christian conservative people that are influenced by a foreign government and quote Judeo Christianity that like to bomb. Who knows? We have no idea. Random people on Christmas and celebrate it like some sick psychopath. That's what this is. That's what Alex Jones and Donald Trump, they're sick psychopaths. And more so because they know exactly what they're doing. People like Joe Biden they had dementia. These guys know what they're doing. It's evil. It's really evil. It's kind of the opposite of Christmas. If you're just joining us and you missed it, here was my response to Alex Jones, and I was surprised he liked it, considering the responses I got to it, where people said, "Can you educate this liar?" To which Grok said, "Actually, more Muslims have been killed in Nigeria than Christians." Of course, that person has not responded to that comment. Why would they? They were stunningly wrong. Plus, I have another question for you. Kristan Harris, many of you know Kristan Harris from the Rundown Live. He's a fun guy. Kristan Harris made a comment the other day on, I think it was probably on Christmas. He made a comment about Jesus and about Christmas time and all that. And I said, you know what shocks me, Kristan? What shocks me is that people still get upset about Christmas as a solstice. And I'm confused by that because maybe I'm wrong, but I didn't God create the sun? Didn't God like set out the parameters of the universe, and I don't like a clockmaker or something? Didn't God like a mason, square and compass, those images of Jesus or God, the grand architect? Didn't God make the sun? Didn't Isn't God responsible for the winter solstice? I just don't understand. It's so hard to exist with other people, I guess. And it's not that I know that this audience is not an echo chamber, because a lot of you disagree with some of my assessments, but you listen because you understand the point of this show, that if you disagree with one assessment, you might agree with the next assessment, because I'm not restricted to I have my own beliefs and I express them from time to time, but I don't really have something that I'm trying to sell you. I mean, except I'm really trying to sell peace, I guess. Peace and not war, which, by the way, was one of the reasons I got booted off of Aftermath Media last year because I was trying to promote peace, advocate for peace. But the people that ran that Aftermath Media, the Canadian company, the other folks, they didn't like the idea of peace. You know why? Because they wanted a holy war too. And the guy that was behind it, Mr. Ruby, he proceeded to do his show on how evil Islam is after I got kicked off the radio trying to show people how Islam and Christianity are virtually identical religions. And then he went on to do a show after I got kicked off talking about how Allah is a God of murder and death. And it's like, well, isn't that the same, like the Old Testament God, the same thing? No, Allah is different. Why is it Allah and Yahweh? These are different. Well, one's Hebrew and one's Arabic, but it means the same thing. It's crazy. It's really crazy. So if you're confused, uh, let me just remind you, and hey, we could look at Genesis. God created the heavens and the earth. It's like the first chapter, I think. And God created the solar system, right? So God created the winter solstice. I told myself that I'm gonna try to be a little bit more monotone and not get all worked up. But like seriously, God created the sun, right? So the winter solstice is God's creation. So there's no that should be something that everybody just says out loud. We might not agree on the literalisms of certain religions, but we could probably all agree that God created the sun, whatever you interpret God to be, just using that terminology. And so the winter solstice is not an evil, wicked celebration of witchcraft. It's quite literally a celebration of God's power, but they reject that too. And then celebrate the bombing of people on Christmas. It's a Christmas bombing. You know, Christmas bombings. They're a tradition because they just wouldn't stop slaughtering those Christians, even though that's not actually really what's going on there. Speaking of that, here's one other quick thing. For me, this is one of the dumbest things I've seen on the internet in 2025. We're gonna pivot here in a moment to the words of the year and some other stuff, but it's one of the dumbest things I've seen on the internet in 2025. Somebody posted this on Facebook, someone I know, and it says, Japan keeps Islam at bay by putting restrictions on Islam and all Muslims. And it gives you a list of things that Japan does. By the way, they're wrong. And these are the things that it lists. Japan is the only nation that does not give citizenship to Muslims. That's not true. Propagation of Islam in Japan is banned. Not true. Permanent residency is not given to Muslims. Not true. One cannot import a Quran published in the Arabic language. Well, that's kind of funny because I have one here with some Arabic in it. I imported this into the country. It's crazy. It's so stupid. I imported a Quran into Japan. I know that that's just objectively not true. I love this one. This is my favorite one. Muslims must follow Japanese law and language. What does that mean? Everybody has to follow the law. They must only Muslim. Yeah, only Muslim. Yeah, my wife speaks English. She doesn't even know Japanese. They only make the Muslims learn Japanese. It's so stupid. Muslims cannot rent a house in Japan. Yeah, that's not true at all. There's literally Muslims in my neighborhood that are renting houses, literally. In fact, I saw a family the other day, a husband, wife, and a little kid walking down the street. They lived in a neighborhood. It's a very peaceful neighborhood. They don't cause any problems. I'm the newcomer here. They don't cause any. It's quiet at night. I don't know if you saw that guy running outside, social media guy running outside, running around. It's like, wow, you can run around here at night. Don't get stabbed. There's people leave their keys in their bikes and nobody steals them and all that's wonderful. Yeah, I can do that at night. I took my trash out last night and I just thought, Like, my instinct when I open the door is, I'm gonna have to fight. Something's gonna happen, and then nothing happens. We came home the other night, and there was some guy coming down the stairs in the apartment. He was a Japanese guy in the apartment next to us. He's coming down the stairs, going to his car, and, like, my instinct, I just was like, I kinda, like, urged my wife inside. I'm just like, "Oh, okay, just close the door." She's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" I said, "Oh, there's a guy coming down the stairs." And it's like, as I'm saying it, I'm realizing, "Oh, but it's safe." She's like, "This is Japan. It's okay. He's just he's just going to get something to eat. He's not gonna do anything." But, like, that's my, programming from the US. It's how I felt. But yeah, you can rent a house in Japan if you're Muslim. I find this probably to be untrue. I don't know. The University of Japan, they don't teach Arabic. I wonder if they do. I'd have to look that up. But just this is so stupid. And again, it's in like this grainy kind of just real low quality what is that? And then you go, I don't even know who this guy is I'm friends with. Just some agent, some bot. All right, real quick, and then we're going to go to the words of the year and some other related things. This is the State Department website for that Nigerian stuff I've been talking about. Just so you can see this, this is the State Department website, and we will pull up the quote here. This is from a show I did called Holy War is Peace. So you can see it for yourself. I'm not making it up. According to government security services, NGOs, media, academic, and other observers, the level of violence driven by rising criminality again continued to worsen during the year. Because issues of religion, ethnicity, land, and resource competition and criminality are often closely linked, it was difficult to categorize many incidents as being solely or even primarily based on religious identity. See that? And this is why it's weird when you read the State Department's website and then you tell people literally what it says, and they're like, source, where'd you get? It's like, where did you get your source from? You're just repeating shit from social media sites, like stuff that was posted. I told myself I'm not going to curse a lot, but my God, you're just posting stuff that the president said, who's completely controlled, who's trying to start a holy war, a new crusade, because some drunk at the Pentagon got a tattoo that says Deus Vult. God wills it. Well, your God's evil. Your God wills the destruction and the murder of billions of people. The psychopathic God. You show people that, like, we're source, and these are that's the same thing the Democrats do. Source. There's only two genders. Source. Well, there's no way to really determine what's religiously and what's not religiously motivated in terms of killings in Nigeria. Source. I don't know. The State Department website, that would be one source. Oh, you can't trust the State Department. Well, hold on a second. You trust the government now, but you don't. Well, that was the Biden administration. Oh, okay. I got a whole bunch of stories here. I can show you the BBC where Muslims are being killed. Oh, here's one too. We're not safe here anymore. Syrian Christians fear future after church attack. Yeah, who attacked the church? You want to take a guess? Who attacked the Greek Orthodox Church in Damascus back in June? You want to take a guess? Syrians were doing quite fine before the U.S. and Israel overthrew Assad. So that's just one example. We don't need to go into the details of all of it, but if you want to, there's another source here, the French Institute for Research in Africa, Nigeria. There's books written on it. Like, I don't just say stuff. It's all very well documented. It's very well documented. With that being said, let us move on to the words of the year and some other related things. And I guess that I don't need to say that I could flawlessly and seamlessly segue into this subject, but I want to call attention to the segue here, because with all the stuff that I'm talking about in the first hour here, it feels, that things have if a lot of people think time is speeding up, and there actually might be a reason for that. In 2024, here's a CBS report. You may remember this. There was also a study in the journal Nature. You could pull that up too, so you could see it. That talked about what is called a negative leap second. That by 2029, because of the speed of the Earth, we might actually have to remove a second from the clock. Uh, they say it was postponed by global warming. But this is continuing in 2025. Earth is spinning faster, leading timekeepers to consider an unprecedented move. We're going to have to adjust the clock. Now, it's not a lot. It's like 1.36 milliseconds less, but over time that would add up. It would take a long time. But time is speeding up is what it feels like. Maybe it's because the Earth is spinning fast. Maybe it's because computers are getting faster. We're more I think that's what it is. I think it's because we're just always bombarded with things. This is something that I've been really stressed with, honestly. I've been stressed with the fact that, I've got a lot of friends who always just want me to message them all the time. And it's like I can't text and be on Discord and on YouTube comments and on X and on Facebook and in two or three emails and on WhatsApp and on Facebook Messenger. Like there's literally not enough time in the day. People want to have long, drawn out conversations. I'm sure everybody's experienced that. You don't have time. But even if you did have time, you wouldn't realize it because you're so occupied by it. Time seems to just fly away. That's probably one of the reasons time seems to be speeding up for people. And it is just a perception thing, flux. Time is a very relative perception thing. But it might also literally be speeding up in terms of how we catalog it because of the spinning of the earth or because we are collectively across the board, no relativity, we're collectively across the board very tied, very connected to our devices that we stare at endlessly. There's black mirror screens we stare at endlessly that just eat up all of our time. It's not that time is speeding faster. It's that you're just not aware that time is moving at all because you're staring at something that has you in a trance. I think that's what's happening. Let's go to the word of the year. The Oxford word of the year. I see probably 5 people in the chat tonight who have already pointed this out. Rage bait. That is the word of the year. And that is exactly what that Christmas tree video was all about. Rage bait. That is exactly what the story about bombing of Nigeria is. Rage bait. Online content deliberately designed to elicit anger or outrage by being frustrating, provocative, or offensive, typically posted in order to increase traffic to or engagement with a particular web page or social media account. Rage bait is the internet's most effective hook. And that is why you cannot have rational conversations online because this is all that matters on the internet. Rage, getting people really angry and upset about things. We have another word of the year from Merriam-Webster. This word of the year is slop. Slop. Merriam-Webster defines slop as digital content of low quality that is produced usually in quantity by means of artificial intelligence. I will add a subdefinition to that. I believe the subdefinition of slop is the vast majority of influencers. It's all, most of it's slop. People that just repeat, regurgitate, take money to push certain ideas. That's all slop as well. It's not just AI slop. That is also slop too. So there's Oxford, there's Merriam-Webster, and then dictionary.com has a word of the year as well. They all have a slightly different one. Where is the I know I had the dictionary word of the year. Let's see. Well, I had the dictionary word of the year. Where is that word of the year at? I might have to go back. Hold on a second. I'll have to go back into my I had a link for it. Let me go back into my my email and see if I can find it here. Let's see. Word of the year is dictionary.com. Oh, yes. This is really interesting. So I had actually not heard of this. I'm sure that some of you have. The word of the year is 67. Has anybody in the chat heard of the 67 meme? I honestly had not. I'm very disconnected from all this, but this was the word of the year, 67. Anybody know what that means? So I looked it up. I was curious what 67 means. Someone had sent me a message also about 67 and what it might refer to. There's originally there was I guess you could call it a rap song. I'm not exactly sure if I'd even consider it rap anymore. I don't know what any of that is. Uh, but it's a song, and then it transformed into like something to do with basketball, and then it transformed into something to do with some kid on the internet, and then it kind of evolved to become something that refers to horror online and getting lost, not literally, but kind of figuratively, getting lost in the slop and the rage bait of the internet. And I see Jackie in the chat says, yes, it's a generational thing. Yeah, I think it's like what, Gen Alpha. It's also something that refers to brain rot, and which was the word of the year last year, I believe, brain rot, from one of the dictionaries. And basically, this internet poison that pulls you in and draws you in and kind of consumes you. So 67 was the word of the year from dictionary.com, and I already saw a bunch of slop on the internet about 67 when I mean, this came out in October, the word of the year, but I saw a bunch of slop in looking this up. There's a bunch of like radio, podcasts, streaming shows like 67. What does it mean if you add the six? That's an Illuminati is the word of the year. Well, yeah, 6 7 add up to 13. Numbers are important, but I don't know how you get Illuminati out of that. So those are the words of the year, and I think that they all go together really well. I think that if you look at slop and rage bait and 6 7, that pretty much define doesn't just define the year. I think that defines the decade. Slop, rage bait, and 67. 67 is also a police code. It refers to, I believe, a murder or death, and I think it's come to symbolize on the internet almost like a death chant, or at least in one context, it's kind of like a death chant. In whatever other context it's used in, it has the underlying meaning of death and murder. So that's what you get, I guess. I guess you get death, murder, you get horror, you get poison, you get brain rot, you get rage bait. It's kind of like what was it, beast mode, or I forget what was that? What was that, demon mode or something from a couple of years ago was another word of the year. Scott Larson says 6 7. Yeah, six. I think it might be separate. I guess it depends on the context. 6 7 or six. Either way, 6 7 67. I think that kind of stuff is stupid. I really just don't like memes. Rita says, my grandkids who are 5 and 6 will say this a lot. Well, that's sad that 5 and 6 year olds are repeating that nonsense. So these are the words of the year, and I think that they adequately describe what we discussed in the first hour. I think they adequately describe the rage bait of the Christmas bombing, the Christmas tree story that's from 2016. I think that they adequately describe all the responses. Oh yeah, you're just a liar if you think Muslims are being killed in Nigeria. You're a liar. Hey Grok, Grok, tell this liar what the truth is. And Grok's like, actually, more Muslims have been killed than Christians. And then, the person disappears. I mean, that's just, it's like a slop to live that kind of an existence. You just, whatever my party says, whatever my identity is, whatever the echo chamber says, I'll resonate with it. And then when someone disagrees, I'm just going to ask Grok to help me out. Grok, why don't you tell this person why I'm right? And then Grok tells the person how they're wrong. And then they just disappear. Like, this is the poison of the internet. This is the poison. Yeah, Jackie, goblin mode. That's what it was. Goblin mode. That's right. Goblin mode. I should pull that show I did up on that. I think Clyde and I did a show on that together. I should try to pull up the old Goblin mode. I think I called it Godzilla mode, though. I should pull up the old Goblin mode show and put that in the archive as a best of. In fact, I will do that after tonight's show. Yeah, Goblin mode. 6'7". I think of that Lil Wayne song, 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot, 6'7", 7'6", 7". I I'm so, I know most of you are too, old or young. I'm just so sick of this trash. It's like people that are, 6'7", like 6'7", bro, and yeah, that's like slop and rage bait and goblin mode and bro and like bed rot and this and that. Just these stupid words and things that we say and do. And then you're like, well, here's what the State Department said. Here's like a source. Grok, is that true? I mean, that is just the definite, just a slop human. Just a slop existence. It's no wonder people's perceptions of the world are what they are, and those perceptions are just that everything is horrible and falling apart, because if that's what you subject yourself to all the time, that's what it's gonna sound like and look like. It's gonna sound and look like the world's falling apart because it's all that you see. The Muslims are trying to get you. Meanwhile, that's not actually happening in the real world. "Oh, you're denying that Muslims kill people." No, I'm not. I'm just saying that there isn't some uniquely Islamic movement to kill Christians because they're Christian in Nigeria. That stuff's been going on for decades. For decades. Chris is here still. Chris, I forgot to mention this. Yeah. They've got the Fringe It. I believe that'll be a social media type thing, like a social, this is like almost like a Facebook kind of a thing that they built. Uh, Ground Zero Plus, Chris, I think Chris built this Fringe It. You can sign up as a social media site. Yeah, we'll learn more about that later. It looks pretty cool. It looks really good, actually. It doesn't look like uh, some cheap thing. It looks really, really good, Chris. So that'll be like a new social media, another one that I won't be able to keep up with because there's just, it's just too many, just too many. There's a lot of new people in the chat here I haven't said hello to. Burning Beard is here. Echo is here. Hello, Echo. Scroll back through this. Antonio is also here. What did Echo say? Echo said 6'7" is the same thing as 23 Skidoo mint in the 1920s, a century later, and we're still stupid monkeys. Well, I don't like to think of humans like that generally or overall, but I mean, that is what a lot of this is. Hello, Brent. Thank you for joining us tonight in the chat. Scott Larson. I don't think I mentioned Scott earlier. Thank you for joining us tonight, Scott. I don't want to take too much time on this scrolling through, going back up into the chat here, but Cole is here. Cole said, why is the Oxford one always multiple words? Is that supposed to inject illusion of grand irony? I'm not sure what that means, particularly since it's supposed to be one of the greatest institutions. I'm not sure what the illusion thing meant, but yeah, I've always been confused about that too. When we say that it's the word of the year and then it ends up being two words, but they don't connect them or put like a dash between them. That is I don't know what that means. That is confusing to me as well. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Azaria, is that Azaria in the chat? Great show tonight. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. I don't know if I've seen that name in the chat before. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Okay, now let's do my favorite part of the show tonight. That's going to be the top 20 viral conspiracies from 2025. Are you ready for this one? This is going to be so fun. Let's see the top conspiracies this year. Number one, of course, this is just a silly website I found just for a stupid list of conspiracies, but these are all things that you can independently verify as being popular in 2025. In fact, most of you will probably know more about these things than I do because I just try to spend so little time on the internet. Number one, QAnon resurfaces. After appearing to fade from the spotlight in recent years, the QAnon movement has experienced a powerful resurgence. The theory claims that a secret cabal, or to quote the attorney who questioned Corey Good, the cable, the theory claims that a secret cable of elites is involved in child trafficking and global manipulation. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. And that a great awakening will bring justice. QAnon related hashtags and coded posts have started appearing on fringe platforms, again, which with followers interpreting vague statements from political figures as secret clues. What makes its return notable in 2025 is the widespread rebranding and merging of the movement with newer digital communities. I know that's definitely one of the revitalized conspiracies in 2025 is QAnon. It's definitely back. There's people reading. Some people never went away, but I'm saying that I'm seeing it again. I'm seeing people use the Q posts, and kind of like South Park, the episode where they're trying to do. Mr. Garrison, he's trying to decode. Was it Mr. Garrison? I think he's trying to decode the statement. Maybe it wasn't Mr. Garrison. Maybe it was. Isn't he supposed to be Trump or something? And I don't watch a lot of South Park, but maybe the Trump people are trying to decode some message. Like, what does it mean? He said this, right? Oh my God, what does it mean? What does it mean? That's what this is. It's like got to interpret code. That's what's so stupid about all of this stuff. I can take you. This is what pisses me off. I can take you to the State Department website where they say the religious motivations in Nigeria are not known because the motivations are economic, they're social, they're political, they're resource driven. Religion's probably part of that, but there's no way to really tell for sure. And we don't think it's religiously motivated. And that's pretty much what every source has said, no matter what side of the spectrum they're on. There's literally no way to know. There's a lot of Christians living there, so that's probably why. But I can show you that. And people just like, you can explain to people that image of the tree with the people climbing it, that's from 2016 in Cairo. It's in a mall. It's not Muslims destroying a Christian tree. Christians don't even believe the tree is Christian, right? It's pagan, right? You show them, who cares? But you know why they don't care? Because they're too busy looking on the internet for code words. If I was a controversial figure, and I just went, I have an itch on my face, scratch my beard or something, there'd be people in the chat. Oh my God, what's he's signaling for something. No, I just have an itch. Just my beard is itchy or something. It's not a code word. I completely agree with what Brundle says in the chat. Is that Brundle like the old myth of Brundle? By the way, I agree with what Brundle says in the chat. The QAnon resurgence is a cope. There's another online word. Cope is another online word. By people trying to come up with something to rationalize Trump doing a huge 180 on virtually everything he ran on. You summed up my thoughts precisely. That is exactly what I've been saying and what I've been thinking. That's exactly what it is. It's a cope. I might have even said that on a recent show. It's a cope. That's what it is. It's a cope. Can't deal with it. So, it's a secret. When they said bomb Nigeria, they really meant make America great again. You've got to read the code. Look at the Fox News video of the bombs exploding, and you have to count how many seconds are in the video after the bombs explode. And then if you subtract that from the first part of the video before the bombs explode, and then you look up the gematria of Nigeria, and then you multiply that by the number of Christians that we think are killed, and then you subtract the size of your underwear, then you get to the number that you take to the internet dark web and find the QAnon post, and then you look up the number that corresponds to the post, and that's what they want you to know. It's insane crap. It's insane garbage. It's trash. Yeah, Patriot Girl, I've seen that too. Patriot Girl says all the politicians are currently at Gitmo according to the Real Raw News. Yeah, Real Raw News. They're giving it to you raw. The People's Voice and other just horrible, horrible. Just it's not even good propaganda. It's awful propaganda. I see people posting that stuff on Facebook, all the People's Voice, which I'm pretty sure might even be AI at this point. And you explain to them like I know what it was. It was the Donald Trump mega White House chemtrail task force. And I asked the person who that someone that you might even know, a relatively famous person. I asked them, I said, where's the link to the chemtrail task force? I'm on the White House website right now. Where's it at? What do you mean, where it's at? Well, this video is about a chemtrail task force. You posted it and put like 100%, like this is so true. So where's the chemtrail task force link? It should be on the White House. Oh, it's a secret task force. Oh, so it's a secret task force that nobody knows about, but some people on the internet have made videos because they're on the inside of knowing about the task force. I don't understand what is happening here. Obviously, I do understand what it is it's complex disinformation. Complex for people that hear RFK Jr. talk about chemtrails, maybe DeSantis does something in Florida with chemtrails. And so there are people that want to confuse you. And so they release garbage like that. And so if anybody brings up the subject of chemtrails, you're like, what do you mean that chemtrail task force? That's totally fake. And then that discredits the fact that RFK Jr. has talked about chemtrails, or the fact that Ron DeSantis in the state of Florida and other states too have enacted legislation to stop chemtrailing. It's just meant to discredit people, is what it is. And then it also puts all of us into a bad situation, because you know what it does? If I go to the internet and I pull up some of the old stories about, I mean, I could show you one of them. Let's do this. If I go to the internet and I type in, Project Storm Fury, I think NOAA has a page on their website about it. Yeah, they do. So if I go to Project Storm Fury, a real weather manipulation program. This is NOAA's official website. I just want to be clear. It is possible to know that that is on NOAA's website and to understand that weather manipulation, weather control, like that technology has been around for a long time, just basic cloud seeding. It's possible to know that and to be aware of that and yet not believe everything you see on the internet. It's possible to believe this, but not trust QAnon. It's possible to know that these programs are real, but not think tool fog in California is some new thing. I had someone comment on the fog video that Ryder Lee and I did, and they said, I live in California. I've never seen the fog before. Okay, well, Ryder lives there and he's seen it before. In fact, it's been known as long as people have looked into the skies. And plus, you got all the mountains and the valleys there. That's why there's God. It's so stupid. That's meant to so when you bring this up to people, like I did this at my job many years ago, I was arguing with someone about geoengineering, and they said it's not true. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. You're saying that NOAA lied about this? This is all fake. Wouldn't that be that's another conspiracy? And the guy just said, nope, that's not true. I said, it's right there on their website. Oh, no, it's not true. No, it is. It is. They did this. It's like, why do we even have to argue about this? It's so stupid. Why are we arguing about something that's just historically factual? It's not even a controversial thing. It's just there. But no, it's not true. It's so stupid. Yeah, it's real, but that doesn't mean that fog's fake. That's what all this QAnon stuff is. All right, we'll blow through some of the rest of these 20 viral conspiracies before the end of the show here. I saw a question in the chat. Let me scroll back through this and find the question. Boomer Sooner says, Ryan, are you still thinking about doing a video on weather manipulation? Did I say that I was? I don't recall saying I was doing a video on weather manipulation. I mean, I've done plenty of shows on it in the past. It's weird being around for so long, longer than like virtually anybody else in the world that's not on terrestrial radio anymore. I'm not on terrestrial radio anymore. I used to be. Um, it's so weird when people are like, bro, you don't think the fog's real, bro? Well, listen, bro, you got to talk to this guy named Dane Wigington, bro. And it's like, bro, I've interviewed him like 15 times. I know Dane Wigington personally. Well, why don't you think the fog's real? Well, why do you think it's real then? Because it is real. Why does it smell so bad? Because California has 5 of the top 10 most polluted cities in the US, and California has also 1 or 2 of the worst polluted cities in the world. That's probably why it smells so bad. Plus, you have feces and urine and marijuana and all kinds of other things all over the place in California. That's why it smells bad. Nah, bro, listen, just interview Dane Wigington. I know Dane Wigington. I've known Dane Wigington for like 13 years. It's so stupid. Like, I know who that is. I would even say that I'm friends with Dan. He even I hadn't talked to him for like 5 years. I had him on ground zero, and he remembered me immediately. I know Dang Wayne. Oh, but bro, you got to ask Dane Wiggy. I know the guy. It's so stupid. Oh, you don't believe in weather control. You should talk to Jim Mars. I was friends with Jim Mars. Jim Mars is dead. How can you be friends with him? I knew him when he was alive. Like, what is this? Like, scary movie? You wake up dead? What are these people talking about? I'm sorry. It's so frustrating for me, having done this for so long, and people are asking me stupid questions like, you ever heard of Masons? Yeah, definitely heard of Masons before. I mean, I get it if people have never heard me talk before, never heard. I understand that. But when you sit there and try to explain weather manipulation, and then you're like, yeah, it's real, but not everything is weather manipulation. And most of the stuff that claims, most of the content that claims it is, it's just like complex disinformation. They're like, yeah, but if you just talk to Dane Wigington, I know Dane Wigington. Well, then why don't you believe it? Because I have a different point of view, or because like I don't think everything's absolute. I don't know. I'm a human being. I have my own viewpoints. Like, my God, it's so silly. So silly. Boomer Sooners said there was a mention months ago. I mentioned about the military studying tornadoes in the 30s. You asked chat about adding a segment. I do remember that. Okay, I do remember that. Yeah, it just hasn't come up yet, Boomer Sooner. It hasn't on my radar, if you will. No pun intended. It hasn't come up on my weather radar. But maybe I'll do something like that in the new year. Because I have a whole digital document archive I put together on all those weather control things. Old Defense Department press releases or stuff like that. So maybe I'll do something like that in the future. All right, let's go through this list of top conspiracies for 2025. Yeah, Flux. It's not always a conspiracy theory. It's not always a conspiracy theory. Project 2025 and the shadow government. Many conspiracy theorists believe that Project 2025 is more than just a policy roadmap. It's a blueprint for authoritarian control. I don't know how that's. I don't know who came up with that. I thought the conservative conspiracy people liked Project 2025, and now I guess it's a conspiracy. I was confused by reading this one. This theory alleges that this initiative is a covert effort to dismantle environmental protection, centralize power, and enforce religious-based governance in the U.S. Also, I guess it's like a Democrat conspiracy theory. I thought that those didn't exist either. Despite being published as a document from known think tanks, internet users have extrapolated elaborate plots involving military tribunals, the rollback of civil rights and whites. Yes, I did a whole show on Project 2025. And I think I'm the only show in the world who sat there on air and read the document. And you know how many people cared about that show? A handful of you listening. There's a few thousand people. And that's it. No, it didn't go viral. Nobody cares. We got dots in here. Nobody cares. But you take something out of one word. That document is like 800 pages. I could even pull it up on the screen right now. If you go to Project 2025 PDF and you pull this document up, there's a couple of different options here. Let's go to the Thinking Conservative project. Yeah, Project 2025. Here's the PDF. Look how I literally pulled it up in less than 10 seconds. It's so easy to find stuff on the internet, and people are just so confused by it. Just type it in. There it is. There's the whole document. Look at how big this document is. Look at this. The last part of it, the Federal Trade Commission, is page 869. The document itself is almost 900 pages. And people are taking one statement out of it and saying that statement represents the whole document. I don't care about Project 2025. But I remember when I was living in Tucson, I had a neighbor who I had gotten into an argument with over rowdy partiers in the pool area one night. And because I was going, I mean, there was another guy too who was really upset about the broken beer bottles and the weed and all that. It just smelled awful. They left trash everywhere. That most of them didn't even live at the apartment complex. But I was really going after these kids, probably 16, 17 years old. And this woman next to me comes out. I had had conflict with her before, and she's like, "You're just so angry." I was like, "No, no, no, no. They broke beer bottles near and probably in the pool. So the next time you and your kid go out there and cut your foot, you're gonna be pretty mad. I didn't do that. They did that. You should be mad at them. They're the ones that are doing drugs out in the open, which is illegal in Arizona, and I'm pretty sure you don't want your son around that." And then when she heard what I was saying, she's like, "Oh, well, that got kind of makes sense." Like, yeah. So why don't you keep your trap shut before you open it and say some dumb stuff and make you look like an even dumber bimbo than you already are? I wasn't that mean to her, but I said, "Yeah, maybe you should actually get context before you just go off and think that someone's being mean." And you know what she said to me? She said, "I bet you listen to Joe Rogan, don't you?" And at the time, I had only ever listened to 2 episodes of Joe Rogan ever. I think it was the Billy Carson episode, which I actually fell asleep in that during that show. I passed out. I think it was the Billy Carson show. I maybe made it through, like, I don't know, 36 minutes of it. I fell asleep. It's awful. And I said, "What does it matter even if I what does that have to do with anything?" Long story short, she brought up and she said, "This Project 2025." She says, it's people like you, this Project 2025. You're trying to make life harder for women." I said, "Ma'am, what are you talking about? It's all over the news." I said, "Project 2025. I have a copy of it. Do you want to see it?" I showed it to her and I said, "It's 800 pages. Why don't you show me in here where the part that you're concerned with begins and ends?" She had no idea what to say, no idea where to look in the document. I said, "Okay, so you just repeated something you heard on the news." I said, "Let me show you what this document actually says." And then you know what she did? To her credit, she actually looked at me with a confused face, kind of like, "What?" And said, "Well, that's not what they said on the news." And I said, "Well, see, that's the problem. You're watching news and you're letting them tell you what an 800-page, 900-page document says." She said, "Why would they lie?" It was like watching someone get unplugged from the Matrix or something. It was like you're not sure if she's gonna collapse or if she's gonna, revert back to the programming. It's like, well, this is confusing. Her boyfriend happened to come over at the same exact time, and he was probably a little bit, weird that she's talking to some guy, and he comes over and he puts his arm around. He's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And I said, "I was just informing her about Project 2025 and how what it actually says." And I'm not even like a proponent of it. I'm just like, I read it. It's not what she said. And he's saying there, he's like, "What?" But that's not what the news says. Like, are you people retarded? Of course it's not what the news, even if the news was going to be objective about it, you get like a 10-second segment on it and that's it. There's no 900 pages. And then they just kind of, that was like the last time I ever had a real interaction with the neighbor. And they just kind of sauntered away. It's like, I'm not mean. I'm just literate. That's what I tell. I'm not mean. I'm just literate. Funny you say that, Tim Curley. Tim Curley said Ryan has great stories. His life should be a reality TV show. Well, the funny thing is, when I was in film school, I had a friend named Zach, and we were he played hockey, so we watched hockey all the time. We watched like Curb Your Enthusiasm and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. We'd watch a bunch of TV shows and stuff. We both wanted to be TV writers, so we had to write a script for film school. And in writing the script, we wanted to do like a Curb Your Enthusiasm style thing. for things like this that were happening to me, specifically like dealing with customer service. Like I had called, he was living with me at the time. I'd called the power company, or it was before he moved in with me. I'd called the power company, and my power bill was outrageous, but I hadn't, nobody was home. It was like $100 more. I was like, but no, I unplugged everything. I left for like a week or something, came back, and they said, "Oh, you live near that university, right?" The power woman actually said this to me on the phone, power company woman. She said, "You're probably just keeping your beer cold in the refrigerator," and hung up the phone. And if I would have been there, I would have choked her. I would have choked her. I would have curb stomped her. Had to call back and get on the phone with somebody and argue with them. And it's just how every customer service interaction was for me. So we did like a script, based a script around that, about that and some other stuff. So we actually did make like a little pilot play. And it's really funny that you said I'm a Gentile Larry David, because that's exactly what my friend said. He said, you're like a non-Jew Larry David. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I don't pee on Jesus. I don't have a fatwa against me, but I am absolutely a Gentile Larry David. If you knew me in my personal life, you would you would know that's true. All right, anyway, let's go back because we have limited time and I just tend to ramble on here. Let's go back to these viral conspiracies. We'll knock out a few more of these. Biden's health was hidden for years. Following recent revelations about President Biden's prostate cancer diagnosis, an older 2022 clip where he casually said, "I have cancer," has resurfaced. Conspiracy theorists argue this proves the government concealed a serious medical condition from the public. Well, that is true. That's not a conspiracy theory. That was an actual conspiracy that the US government was engaged in, and the media was engaged in, and people were engaged in who just didn't want to believe reality. That's actually true. Definitely true. Number 4, the Clinton body count theory returns. Well, that's all. I don't even need to read that. I know that that's true. There is a Clinton body count. It might not be Jeffrey Epstein, but there's definitely a Clinton body count. Here's the fifth one. This is great. Fogvid 24, the chemical fog bioweapon. It's back. Yeah, it is back, and it probably has something to do with this. Los Angeles remains nation's smoggiest city for 2020 or 25th time in 26 years, despite progress. And it's really interesting because I know smog isn't fog, but if you read this article from the LA Times, it says something really, really interesting. California is home to 5 of the country's 10 smoggiest places, as defined by levels of ozone pollution, and also to 5 of the worst 10 cities by particle pollution, according to the report. LA is that Visalia, Bakersfield, Fresno, and San Diego were among the list of cities most polluted by ozone. Bakersfield, Visalia, Fresno, LA, and Sacramento were in the top 10 for worst particle pollution as well. That's probably why. LA is also one of the worst polluted cities in the world. It's in the top 20 behind cities, behind clean places like Delhi, India, or Cairo, Egypt, or Kuwait City. Yeah, LA is on that list. That's how disgusting Los Angeles is. It's a filthy, disgusting cesspit of garbage and trash and feces and horrible people. If you live in LA, you have to know that I'm not talking about you if you're not one of those people. You have to know what I'm saying is true. It's like the old comedian Ralphie May said. He's like, "I'm from a dangerous part of Los Angeles. It's called Los Angeles." Yeah, it's a cesspit. If you're on a list with several Indian cities, I mean, my goodness, you might as well just like Fallout, just drop the bomb. That place needs to be cleaned. So anyway, that's probably why it smells really bad in California, because you have literally some of the dirtiest cities in the world in California. That's why. Reno Max said the recent rain in Los Angeles washed away the smell of piss. Well, that's good. I assume you live in Los Angeles, Reno Mac? Yeah, my wife flew into Los Angeles the first time she came to visit me in the US. After I came back from Japan, she came to the US to visit before I fully moved over there. I came back to pack everything up. You know what she said when she got to Los Angeles International Airport? She texted me, "Why does it smell like pee?" I said, "Welcome to the USA. Smells like piss everywhere." And then I hadn't been to LA since I was a kid, and I flew there out of Phoenix to go back to Tokyo, and I got my luggage, and I went outside, And I went, it does smell like, it literally smells like piss. Someone had pissed outside of the luggage thing in Los Angeles. It's like, wow. So I'm glad it washed the piss away. That's great. Glad to hear that, Reno Mac. Glad to hear it smells a little bit better. You know what it smells like here? It's foggy, and yet it smells like incense because the Buddhist temple burns incense constantly. So the whole city smells like incense. Hey, my friend Teresa is here. Merry Christmas, everyone, she says. We're almost out of time, Teresa, but we will be on ground zero here in just a little bit, an hour from now. The Year in Reverse with David Oates. Reverse speech tonight on ground zero. I'll be hosting. Reno Max said it always smells because it doesn't rain that much in this part of California, or that, yeah, in California. Like it rains in California. It's not in the southern part, maybe where you live. Yep. Smells like piss. That's probably why it smells so bad. Why does the fog smell bad? It's got to be because of biowarfare. Yeah, it's probably because of the piss. That's probably what it is. The rest of these, number 6, Super Bowl predictive logos. If you look at the colors of all the teams, the chances of the colors of the Super Bowl logo relating to the teams is like, I forget the percentage, but we did a show on it this year, and it's like, what was it, 60% chance or something like that of the logo relating to because I mean, if most of the teams use like red, so there's red in the logo. That's which red team is that? Is that the Chiefs? Is that the Bucks? I don't even know about football, and I know that. It's stupid. NBA draft lottery is fixed. Yeah, that's probably true, and so is the gambling. I mean, who runs that league? Adam Silver, Steenberg, so that's probably, yeah. 15-minute cities are about control, not convenience. Well, that's also accurate. That's not really a conspiracy. That's openly discussed by the World Economic Forum. Great replacement theory. Well, that's not a theory. That's an actual UN document that you can just type in UN Great Replacement PDF, and you can actually pull up the UN's website. So that's not really a conspiracy either. They used to have it on their actual, I think they still have it on their actual website. Oh, here it is. The Great Replacement, UN.org. Oh, that's their statement on it. Where's the PDF, the actual PDF of it? I know there's a PDF of it somewhere. Let me go to Google. In fact, I just pulled it up the other day for my new book. I have a section in it. Great Replacement, if I can spell, PDF, United Nations. Oh, look at that. Is that the same one? Replacement migration. Oh, here it is. There's the Great Replacement Migration document from the UN website. There it is. That took me about 30 seconds to find it, but I found it. There it is, the UN replacement migration. So that's not really a conspiracy. That's just a document from, like, what was that, the 90s or something? 2000, March. Reptilian shapeshifters still run the world. We'll save that one for another show. FEMA camps are ready for martial law. Yeah, I kind of don't care about that anymore because I've been hearing about that for 20 years. Chemtrails make a comeback. Well, they never went away. Artificial intelligence is controlling public opinion. Well, that would just be the algorithm. Vaccine conspiracies remain persistent. Yeah, and there's a lot of really stupid ones, but it's not really a conspiracy. It's another stupid thing. It's a conspiracy theory. It's not really a conspiracy theory. UFO truth is still being hidden. I don't even know how to respond to some of these conspiracies. Mainstream media is an elite propaganda tool. What is that even supposed to mean? I don't know what that means. Deep state control is real. I guess I don't really know what that means either. False flags are orchestrated events. Well, that is the definition. I mean, the conspiracy here is false flag attacks or orchestrated events. That's the definition. That's not the conspiracy. Global surveillance is far more advanced than we think. Well, yeah. Population control by design. Well, yeah, there's population management, there's population control. So, like, what's the difference? I don't even know what conspiracies are anymore. I really don't. I really have no idea what conspiracies are anymore. CIA, Mossad, big production. It's what it is. It's a big production. A big club that you're not in, a big production. They write the scripts. They're the actors, the producers, etc. Thank you so much for tuning into the show tonight. I am very happy that so many people tuned in on not late notice, but I guess late notice around the holy days. And by the way, I say holy days not because of a Christmas or Christianity bias or something like that. I say holy days because they are holy. Jesus was born on Christmas, right? So, well, he wasn't, but if he was, then that would be a holy day. I say Christmas. I say holiday, Merry, whatever. It is a holy day. That's where the word comes from. It's the Holidag. How do you pronounce it in Old English? Holidag means holy day. So it is a holy day, right? It's a holy day. And I will say, I thought I had one more thing. Oh, yeah, one more thing here. Before I let you go, I am curious if anybody, you can email me this, rdgable@yahoo.com. If you have any resources for old school royalty free music, I'm looking to kind of expand some new bumpers in the new year and might kind of change the format of the show slightly. Nothing serious, but just slightly kind of just like a refresh of the show in 2026. So if you have any like royalty free music, I used to have websites I used. I couldn't really find anything this time. But send it over to me, or maybe you make music. I don't know. Send it over to me. Maybe I can add it to a show. I thought about doing like a special bumper, couple bumpers for each show of the week. So, it's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Anyway, that's pretty much the show. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you listening in the chat on the social media platforms that this show is airing on. Catch Ground Zero tonight, or if you've already missed the show, go back into the archive, groundzeroplus.com. I'll also be uploading those shows in our archive at tstradio.info. A lot of thank yous in the chat. Thank you very much. I appreciate all of you listening. I will say to you, stay safe, stay informed, stay healthy. Please buy me a coffee and grab a copy of one of my books. Subscribe if you haven't done so yet. And I will talk to you on the next broadcast. Hey, if you get a chance tonight, give me a call on Ground Zero, 503-225-0860. That's 503-225-0860. Let's get some calls tonight with David Oates. That'll be fun. Have a great night. I will talk to you later. And oh my goodness, I forgot. Antonio reminded me. Happy Saturnalia. Have a great weekend.